Welcome back, everyone. Can you believe it's the closing plenary of the Global Engagement Summit? What an exciting and inspiring 2 days we've had together. We launched our summit yesterday with a truly monumental moment, welcoming the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Special Envoy John Kerry to officially mark the United States' re-entry into the Paris Agreement, reaffirming our country's commitment to be an active player in tackling the climate crisis. And just this morning, we listened to an insightful conversation between the former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and UNHCR Special Envoy Angelina Jolie. And those were just our opening plenaries. We haven't even scratched the surface for all the other amazing conversations we've had in the Inspire, Educate, and Mobilize breakout sessions.
Absolutely. So we've learned from across the country on how change makers from different sectors are taking action within their local communities to work toward the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Lawmakers provided insight on how we, as their constituents, can help advocate for important issues ranging from upholding and protecting human rights to prioritizing action to respond to the climate crisis. During our sessions, activists and visionaries shared their projects and initiatives that were born by seizing a moment and launching a movement to become an agent of change, to challenge the status quo for a more inclusive and just world for all. The hashtag Stop the Waste initiative from the World Food Programme was brought to our attention, in which we can get engaged, no matter where you reside on this, our planet, to pursue a world with zero hunger. A question was posed within the chat on how do we create a change when we are often overlooked? Awareness is a precondition to action. To not be overlooked, we need to take an active role to get and push for representation. My advice, if you do not have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Well, it truly has been a global engagement summit like never before, and we're not quite done yet. I am welcoming back on stage our UNA USA Executive Director, Rachel Bowen-Pittman. Rachel, over to you.
Thank you, Bettina and Akash, for guiding us throughout the summit. While I miss seeing you guys in person, I must admit being virtual has just been just as exciting. This has been an amazing 2 days. But we're not done yet. At the beginning of the summit, I gave everyone a challenge. I asked you to take the conversations you experience here off the platform and bring them to your social media channels, to your dinner tables, to your virtual classrooms, and your next family Zoom call. So let's bring up two current UNA USA members, Barry Simon of the UNA Southern California Division and Sayarchana Doria of UNA Arizona State University, to see how they plan to meet this challenge and hear about their summit experience. You know, I'm hoping that you guys who is here in the audience have been inspired by the summit and you want to take action and create a movement in your community, because actions can make a difference. And I've seen this. I've seen individuals execute seemingly small actions that have big collective results, raising desperately needed funds for refugee education, spreading the word about the global goals on social media, meeting with their members of Congress to personally advocate for continued U.S. support for the UN, and attending events like this one today. So I see that we have Sayarchana on the screen. And so let me come back to you. I know that this is your first time attending a global engagement summit. So I'm just curious to know, what did you think, and was it what you expected?
Yeah, so when I first heard about the Global Engagement Summit, I knew it was going to be magical. And I was so excited about it. And something I wasn't expecting and didn't realize was how deeply I needed the summit. As a student, I study the world's problems every single day. And sometimes these problems can feel so heavy and disheartening. And the summit gave me so much renewed hope. Literally every single session and every single speaker reminded me that no one is alone in this movement for global change.
Thank you.
And I got so much hope from it. And it just reminded me that there's millions of people in this world advocating for global change. And I'm so excited for all the future summits to come.
Great. I'm so excited you had your first summit experience. And Barry, I know that you've been to a few summits. How did it compare this year to previous years? What stood out for you?
Well, what was common was the extraordinary quality of the speakers and all the panelists, the keynotes. I mean, just the extraordinary quality in person and online, extraordinary. And what really stood out online was really the ability to be like one-on-one, like face-to-face with the Secretary General or Secretary Generals, and face-to-face with John Kerry and Elizabeth Cousins. I mean, these are just extraordinary experiences, to be that experience of face-to-face, as opposed to being in a room of 1,500 people and you're back in a corner somewhere, perhaps. This was really in person.
Wow, I love that. And say, Archana, what was your favorite moment during the summit?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to choose just one moment because all of them are so magical, but I especially loved day 2 with the opening plenary between Ban Ki-moon and Angelina Jolie. I loved how they discussed about leaving no one behind in the post-pandemic world and about the importance of mental health during these COVID-19 times. I loved how Ban Ki-moon talked about how mental health is essential for global development and how it's often a neglected and overlooked issue. And I'm so excited to see everything the UN will do to advocate for mental health. And I loved how Angelina Jolie said it's so important to include every single human being in all initiatives to advocate for global change and how mental health matters for everyone.
Yeah, she's amazing, absolutely amazing. And Barry, what about you? What was one of your favorite moments?
Well, actually, a non-politician, a non-diplomat officially, to see Angelina Jolie participate with us was another extraordinary opportunity, and really to hear her views. But I was particularly moved by Ms. Cousteau and her comments about the oceans. You know, some people that are the children or grandchildren of famous people don't stay on a track of making that kind of a difference. And so that was really extraordinary to hear her perspectives, and that's one thing that stood out. But like was just shared, the extraordinary quality of everyone. I'm glad I didn't miss a beat.
Fantastic. Now, say, Archana, what is one interesting thing you learned, and how will you take action on it in your community?
Yeah, so one thing I learned from the creative activism session at the Global Engagement Summit is that activism can happen in so many creative ways, shapes, and forms, including films, podcasts, books, poetry, and music. And every single person's voice is so powerful. And I didn't realize how creativity is such a beautiful form of activism. So something I want to do in my university community is work with students and inspire them to participate in creative activism, because it's such a powerful tool to advocate for the SDGs with the UN.
Yeah. And Barry, you've, like I said, have been to many summits. How do you take what you hear and what you learn and the engagement you have with other participants and take that back to Southern California and put it into action?
Well, we're very fortunate in Southern California to have such a wide variety of chapters and leaders and diversity. How I take the Global Summit and with the renewed awareness, and why I attend every year, and one reason why I'm a member, is to keep raising the bar on my understanding of the global issues. And the UNA is the one organization that I can think of that encompasses really all global issues. And so, and what I can do locally is to bring SDG 14, for example, more to the forefront. We focused on hunger or equality in other areas that are all important, and climate, but to bring something about the oceans, it's like nobody does those. So really there's an opportunity to bring new areas of what people have shared, and it provides new perspectives. You know, we provide opportunities, whether you're 7 or 70 or above or below, to participate. And it just reminds me of new programs, events that can lead to increased awareness of the need for attention to these matters and the fulfillment of the SDGs.
Absolutely. And because the Global Engagement Summit was virtual this year, we were able to make it open to the public. So there are many people who are new to our movement but are not members yet. What would you say to other attendees who are thinking about joining UNA USA? Let's start with you, Archana.
So something I love about UNA USA is every single day when I work there, I'm constantly reminded that I'm never alone in this movement for global change. I have this amazing community behind me, constantly inspiring me and reminding me that change is possible. I love how UNA USA has campaigns, service projects, national events like this to create global change. And it's so beautiful to be a part of this community. I think my most favorite part about UNA USA is the community. And I highly recommend all of you to join us in it.
Thank you. And Barry, your thoughts?
Yeah. I second exactly what she just said. It's all, whether you're interested in the oceans, whether you're interested in equality, whether you're interested in ending hunger, whatever your interest is, you can find a home at UNA. When I came aboard, I was just asked to be a participant in an event 15 years ago. In Pasadena, I had no expectation that it would lead to a 15-year involvement in an organization that really makes a difference across the board. So I would invite everyone to join. In fact, I do have one offer for the first 5 people who join. I will send them a SDG pin. I will send that to them as a gift for the first 5 members who join.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Barry. That's an awesome idea. Well, thanks to you both for being here today and sharing your experience about the summit and being a member of UNA USA. I really appreciate it. And to everyone else who's listening in, I hope you take your experience from the Global Engagement Summit and turn it into your stepping stone towards further action. Leave this conversation with your goal of your own to continue building this momentum. Reflect on what more you can do or continue to do to be a champion for a sustainable world. Lean into the network of people here online today to be your support, your accountability, and your team. Continuing the dialogue and engaging with others is key for success. Remember, the world needs the UN and the UN needs our voices. So I invite you to stay engaged with UNA USA. Join us if you have yet to do so, because collectively we can build a brighter future for everyone, everywhere. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to bring Winter Ashley from our sister organization, Girl Up, to the virtual stage. Winter?
Hello, my name is Winter Ashley. I am so delighted to be here at the Global Engagement Summit as part of the closing plenary to fittingly join together the sessions from the last 2 days. I've heard so many amazing things about every speaker that you guys have had, and it's just so lovely to be a part of this. As 2 sister campaigns of the UN Foundation, Girl Up and the UNA of the USA provide many opportunities to empower girls and women, I have seen the work of UNA chapters who have mentored or supported Girl Up leaders all across the country, and members from each of our movements working together to meet with their members of Congress during lobby days on Capitol Hill to advocate for gender equality and equal opportunity. With Girl Up over the past 4 years, I've been able to reach the greater global community through my involvement in the 2020 Leadership Summit, where I was able to talk with around 40,000 girls in order to expose younger girls to the intersectionality of gender and racial injustice on a panel I did. I've also worked alongside Granola X Girl Up, a POC and woman-owned granola company, and a group of 4 other TAs on launching a new granola flavor in partnership with Girl Up. We also worked with Nigel Barker. This project entailed working on marketing, production, and the entire life cycle of creating a product. That's why I am so honored to introduce someone who's been one of my longtime role models within the gender equality movement. I have looked up to Monique Coleman since I was probably around 6 years old when I first saw High School Musical. Having the representation of someone who looked like me and someone who had a lot of the same interests that I did was something that I found incredibly inspiring. And then when I joined Girl Up, finding out that Monique was a Girl Up champion was so cool for me. She embodies this idea of working together across organizations and other stakeholders to bridge the gap and empower girls and women. Monique is an actor, producer, and Emmy-nominated host. She's most recognized for her role as Taylor McKessie in Disney's High School Musical. However, you'll always hear her say that acting is her passion and advocacy is her purpose. Beyond her career, she's known to many as the first ever United Nations Youth Champion, a passionate global youth advocate, and longtime champion of Girl Up. Monique will be in conversation with Nicole Perez today. Nicole previously served as the 2016-2017 U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations, where she represented the voices of young Americans at the United Nations. She currently leads civic education programs at Facebook and is the executive director of Girls FTW, a global mentorship program serving women and girls in over 70 countries. It is my pleasure to introduce you to both Monique and Nicole.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Monique.
Hi, Nicole. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge Winter and just say thank you so much for that gorgeous introduction. And I'm in my feelings. And I just wanted to say that was beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Winter, thank you so much. I look up to you and all of the incredible Girl Up leaders that are just paving the way for so many women and girls around the world. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Monique, it is an incredible pleasure to be here with you and to be in conversation. I'd like to start off by first touching on your role as a Girl Up champion. So as somebody who is incredibly passionate about gender equality and providing women and girls with opportunities to lead and with mentorship and sisterhood, I'd love to know, what does being a Girl Up champion look like? And why are you so passionate about gender equality in SDG 5?
Sure. To give you a tiny bit of background, my relationship with Girl Up started as a fangirl. I had just returned from a very large trip where I had traveled to 24 countries on behalf of the UN. And I was looking for a home, essentially. I was looking for a place that I could really build from. I was starting to recognize that I was becoming a bit of a floodlight instead of a spotlight. And I much prefer to have a deeper impact in an area than to be spread thin over all different areas. And so for me, my relationship with Girl Up is one that I sort of see it just like family. I am always looking for ways that I can be of service, that I can contribute, whether that be attending the Leadership Summit, which I have for the last 10 years, or running in the marathon, or just simply speaking to girls on a one-on-one basis. I've seen firsthand the power of girls to change the world. I've seen firsthand what happens when we invest in girls and young women and how we are able to completely transform communities. And over the last 10 years, it's been genuinely incredible, not just watching the girls grow and go off to do incredible things, but also to witness my own growth as a leader. It took me this whole time to really even, I think, accept that position or that idea that I am perceived as a leader, because for me, I think I just feel that it's our civic responsibility to participate in making this a better world. It is our responsibility as human beings to look out for one another wherever we are. And those of us who are privileged in any capacity to have access, it is our duty, I think, to get to occupy this planet, that we extend that to those who at this moment may not have the voice or the opportunity or that same access. And for me, Girl Up has given back to me as much as I've given to it. And it's been incredible watching thousands of leaders being born. And my favorite moment is watching a girl recognize her own power and her ability to actually make an impact and a difference, whether that be lobbying or raising money or simply advocating.
I absolutely love that and could not agree more. In fact, with the organization I have, Girls FTW, a mentorship program, I actually have many Girl Up leaders that lead their own chapters that are also working with me on my executive team, and just seeing their incredible ideas and just being a part of fueling them, helping those their own ideas come to life, and watching them lead is an absolute incredible honor for me. So I echo that sentiment. I'd now love to take a step back.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing I wanted to mention also is that I don't perceive these girls as leaders of tomorrow. I see these girls as our leaders right now, today. And I think it's so important on this global platform that we make that distinction. We are not empowering young people to lead our future. We are empowering young people so that we have a future.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that important distinction. So thank you for bringing that up. And I'd love to now take a quick step back, because most people might know you from your role in High School Musical, or from Dancing with the Stars, or from all the incredible achievements you've had in the entertainment industry. What they might not know is that soon after filming High School Musical, you actually came home to an eviction letter. And you've talked about this in a few other spaces before, but I feel it's really relevant to bring that up now, as we're all in the midst of a global pandemic, and many of us are going through really difficult times. For many of us, it's the lowest times we've had in our lives. For others, we're just going through, difficult times with our mental health, etc. And I wanted you to touch on, what was that moment like for you, and how did you get through it?
Thank you. That moment was, I think, an example of what life actually looks like more often than not. There is so much duality happening all the time. And what you see is not always what's happening behind the scenes. So for me, that was a big moment to have shot this movie that I had no idea was going to change my whole life. And then to come home and literally be like, do I even live here anymore? And I laugh because I have to look at these moments and be lighthearted about it. As someone who's traveled to over 40 countries, I do not think that what we have in terms of material is always what's in our hearts. I have met people who are in all sorts of situations that those of us who live in different countries might perceive as being dire. But the light inside of people all over the world is not turned on by economics. It's a spirit. I see it as something that's bigger than that and bigger than us. And so for myself, I think I've constantly had this duality where these really bright, beautiful moments are happening and something else is also going on. And I think that that's necessary, especially as Americans, because inherently, no matter what we are going through, we are often, even in our worst, still in a seat of privilege globally. And that's really challenging because I am such an advocate. I mean, you can look at Flint, you can look at so many places inside of our own country, and there's so much need right here in the US. But I do think that it's important that we always have that global mindset where we recognize that it's not just about us. We are 13% of the entire population of almost 8 billion people on this planet right now. So for me, coming home to an eviction notice was just the beginning of me understanding that whatever was going on, I always needed to have my mindset somewhere else as well. And since then, I've experienced 2 miscarriages. I have been betrayed. I've had so many big things happen. And I think it's for me to not only stay grounded, but to maintain that perspective and to not believe that any of the work that we're doing is meant to save us. We are meant to be in relationship to one another. We are meant to continue to grow and build with one another. And that means that there are going to be times where things don't work out the way that you expected them to, but we continue on and we continue to move forward. And for me, it's about changing my relationship to pain, changing my relationship to conflict, and not perceiving that as being a bad thing. Things not going well doesn't equate to things being bad. That's just where my attention is needed, or something is there. That's the opportunity, instead of looking at it like everything is falling apart. So the way that I get through it is by continuously reminding myself that that there's a reason for everything, and that I am a part of something bigger. But then also by taking action. I'm not a person who sits around just, singing Kumbaya with my hands up in the air. I'm also looking at ways that I can be proactive and thoughtful. And I think if this is, I don't believe that things happen to us. I believe that things happen for us. And so and that's really challenging when we're talking about global issues, because you're like, what, how could this be happening for us? But if you even look at the pandemic and the way that it has brought people together in unimaginable ways, the innovation that has stemmed from this, the opportunities, the conversations, and there's been so much growth inside of so much loss. And I think that for me is where we're meant to live and exist, because for far too long, very few people have been making decisions for everyone. And I believe that the playing field is a little bit more even now, and we have an opportunity for people who haven't had a voice to get to have that voice. And yeah, I give what I need. That's what I do. That's my method, or that's how I go about things. Is when I'm lacking something, I look for where I can give it. I lean into gratitude. I look at all the things that I have to be grateful for, and I tap into that instead of focusing on what I don't have and what isn't working.
Wow, that is so incredibly powerful. And I'd love to remind the audience that as we are having this conversation, we are open to Q&A at the end. So please feel free to share your questions, your comments, and we'll make sure to bring those up towards the end. But that is absolutely so incredibly inspiring to be able to look at the pain or whatever's going on in our own lives and figure out, what is this moment trying to teach us, right?
Yeah.
Where can this connection? Where can I give what I'm lacking?
Yes.
And wow, so incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for that. We know that after High School Musical, you went on to become, as Winter mentioned, the first ever UN Youth Champion for the International Year of Youth. And I think this is a really interesting story. Would love for you to walk us through how that happened.
Yeah. So long story short, I feel like there's a collective consciousness, and it shows up in a lot of different ways, whether it be these conversations, or if you turn on the television and there's 10 shows about the same thing. So for whatever reason, I had tapped into this belief, this deep, deep belief that young people were the answer to how we were going to move forward and progress as humanity. And I remember I started Gimme Mo, which was at that time a nonprofit organization. And my goal was to empower, inspire, and motivate young people, and to amplify youth voices. And I thought I wanted to do that through a charity. I will say that to this day, I've never raised $1 because I didn't know what to do with it. And I wanted to always act out of integrity. And now it has morphed and become more of a brand and a platform to amplify the voices of young people and to be more of a bridge and connector, because that's where my actual strength lies. But looking back at that moment, I had someone who was 19 years old who worked for Gimme Mo. And he mentioned that Youth Day was coming up and said, you just started this platform. I think you would be an amazing speaker. And I laughed. I thought, how? Why? Like, me speak at the United Nations? Like, what are you even talking about? Long story short, he got through to someone and they said, yes, we would love to hear from Monique Coleman. And I spoke, and I remember sitting there, and this was in 2011, I want to say. And the pamphlet had this logo on it, and it was like 10 different thought bubbles. And my logo for Gimme Mo is one thought bubble. And I got mad. I was like, oh, great. So here we go. Here I am starting an organization, and like the largest organization in like the whole world is on the same wavelength, and they're launching this year of youth. And great. I'm trying to start a website and they're launching a whole like movement. And then something magical happened. I read the words of Ban Ki-moon. I looked at that pamphlet backwards and forwards, and I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And that was that moment that I recognized that we individually, we, the people that are in these moments, have the power within ourselves to magnify and amplify those words that were on that paper. And so I actually wrote a letter I think it was to UNDP. I wrote a letter and said, "Hi, my name is Monique Coleman. I'm an actress that you might recognize from High School Musical. That's neither here nor there. I love young people. I have a voice, and I would love to help other young people find their voice." The theme was dialogue and mutual understanding. I was like, I don't know what I can do, but I can maybe host some conversations or bake some cookies, raise some money. I don't know. But whatever it is, I would like to lend my services to this organization. And they came back a few months later, probably had to do some background checks, make sure that I really was who I said I was and that I wasn't actually crazy, which I am slightly, because anyone who's they want to do this has to be a little bit. And from that point, they gave me the title Youth Champion. And I was so grateful and appreciative, but it wasn't enough. I didn't need another title. I wanted to do something. And so I initiated and funded a 6-month global tour where I traveled to 24 countries in those 6 months, simply to understand. I thought, there's no way I can sit in my apartment in Los Angeles, no matter what my circumstances are, and speak on behalf of youth of the world. And there's no way that I deserve or any other person should speak on behalf of everyone. I need to hear from these young people and bring their voices to the into a global platform and a global stage, and give them the opportunity to be heard. And if that moment has to happen through me, it can be, but it will not be about me. And I made the space for that. And since then, it's been just an incredible, it's the most amazing thing of my life. Even when I have these moments where we get to speak this way, and I'm reminded of just the faces, and whether it be, the boys in Colombia that I met that had, been a part of war, or the girls in the Philippines that were rescued from trafficking. I've seen and experienced what young people on this planet are capable of. And I will tell you that we need to just get out of the way and give them the tools that they need in order to lead this change. And for me, being the youth champion is still the greatest role of my life. And it is what I carry with me. But now, speaking to this platform, I recognize that I have to do it the way that I got there in the first place, which is through my art. I cannot simply sit and only, talk about these issues. I have to be about these issues. And that's what this summit is about. And that's what all of this is about, is the fact that we don't have to choose between our purpose and our passion. They are intertwined. We don't have to, if we connect our passion, we have to be sustainable. You can't achieve the sustainable development goals if you don't do it in a sustainable way. And a lot of us are killing ourselves at times, or thinking that we have to carry the weight of the world, and we don't. So that trip and my relationship with Girl Up has shown me that it's more impactful to do your part and stay in your lane, like passionately, and allow everyone and inspire other people inside of their lane than it is to try to do and be everything, which earlier on when I was a lot younger, that's what I was trying to do. But today I realize, no, what I can do is I can inspire the other people that are going to join arms with me, and let's do it together in our own way.
I absolutely love that. And, we get a ton of questions about, I'm passionate about this thing, but I don't really know how to go about it. And you mentioned, at the beginning, how you saw this International Year of Youth happening. You saw these thought bubbles and you're like, that's my logo. And our first instinct is to be like, I'm doing that. But then to see you reach out and say, actually, how can I help support this initiative as well? How can we join forces instead of be in competition, or instead of, running in different directions? How do we link arms and run together? Let's run this race together. We're on different lanes with our own passions, but we're running the same race together, which is so absolutely beautiful.
And there's a fine line being inspired and intimidated. And this is to every person who's in this audience and who's listening right now, please do not look at the people that are here and put anyone on a pedestal. We are all every single person has a purpose. Every single person has value and validity in any capacity. And so it's so important that we acknowledge that thin veil of being. At first, I started out and was totally intimidated. And it took me getting all the way through traveling to all these countries. And I still have moments of feeling intimidated and feeling small. And the way that I respond to that is transparency. Just be honest. Ask for what the name of the acronym is. Say, I've never heard of that. I don't know. We live in a big world with so many people. You don't have to actually know everything in order to still be able to make a difference. Ask questions, take that first step forward and know that you will be met with everything that you need. It's our will that we need, not our knowledge. It's the will to take that step. It's the will to try and to put yourself out there and not be afraid of what's going to happen, but instead say, I'm going to put myself out there without knowing what's going to happen next. But I assure you that someone's going to meet me there, and together we will build something amazing.
I absolutely love that. And this is touching on a question we have from the audience where Eva asks, being a young woman interested in being more involved with international relations and the UN, what would you recommend that we do? And you've mentioned a couple of things, right? First of all, you sent an email, shot in the dark, right?
Yeah.
What are other things that you think are top of mind that other folks should consider doing as well, if they want to start planning right now?
Yeah, right now, today, I would say that I love what you said about sending that email. I think what that has, more specifically, what that is lead by your desires, not your fears. I know that feels very general, but it's true. Lead with what you desire, not what you are afraid of. Most of the time, we don't pick up the phone because we're afraid of being too much. We are afraid of not knowing. We are afraid of getting on someone's nerves. We are afraid of all of these things, when in fact, there's a beautiful Rumi quote that says, what you seek is doing the seeking. Which very plainly means what you seek is also seeking you. Trust that, and listen to those small voices, those small, still voices in your head that say, man, I feel like I want to connect with this person or that person. So literally reaching out, utilizing your social media for more than just selfies, sharing the things sharing messages of organizations that you appreciate and support. Advocate. You don't need a position to be an advocate. That is your position. So until you know, learn. And once you learn, share. And when you have reached as much as you can share, connect with other people and continue that cycle. Every single gift that you have is meant to be used. It's not for you, it's for the people. And so those gifts that you have, whether it be an interest in makeup or the bottom of the ocean, whatever it is that you are genuinely, sincerely interested in, that can be applied to advocacy. That can be applied to activism. And that's, for me, the best route is to look at what is the connection between the things that make me mad or the things that deeply inspire me and the things that I want to do every single day of my life. And if I can draw a line between those two things, just last year and towards the end of the year, I realized that if I had continued on my path, I was leaning into inauthenticity. And my next journey is, how do I bring this to film and television? How do I make the most epic shows and movies and animations about the things that I'm so passionate about, so that I can continue to do this work without it becoming too heavy for me. So I don't know if that's specific enough, because I think it really is to each individual. But I know for a fact that when you lead with your desires and that's not to say that you won't be afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid all the time. It's not to say that you're going to wait until you're ready, or wait until you're not afraid. You will likely still be afraid, but that's part of the process. And that's part of what it is to be a human being, is that there will be moments that you are fearful, and you just take that fear with you, and that fear gets transmuted into action, and those actions get transmuted into other things that then ultimately give you the confidence to keep moving forward. And know that you're enough. Whoever asked that question, Eva, you are enough. The fact that you even have this desire is incredible. Everyone here, I used to think that you had to be a certain type of person in order to make a difference. That is not true. You do not need to be a certain type of person. You do not need to live in a certain place, and you don't need to have certain relationships. You simply need to have the will and to be willing to take the steps wherever you are on the spectrum, from no information to all of the information, and trying to get more resources. Wherever you are, there is something that you can do if you allow yourself to believe that you are enough and to take those steps.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Monique. That is absolutely, I couldn't have said it better. And Eva, I'll echo that. You are enough. Thank you so much for being here, for asking that question, for having the courage to ask that question. We're grateful you're here. And I think we have time for one more question. Tanisha asks, what have you learned about female empowerment from traveling the globe, and how has it changed you?
Wow. The first thought that came to me was the word disempowerment. So I have two things. One is that we cannot give anyone else power. We can only unlock it. Every single person has an inherent worthiness and an inherent gifting and power. And this idea of empowerment is simply to turn the light on, but you are not what's powering another person. You are helping them to see their own power. And that's the first thing. It was that real realization that it is not my job or duty to give anyone anything. It's simply to show them what's already there. And outside of that, that I think we have the power, and sometimes we give it back. I have a beautiful friend, Jess Weiner, who is a wonderful entrepreneur. And I was going through a lot, and she said to me, "Oh yeah, girl, you outsourced your power." And I was like, what? And she said, "You outsourced your power." And wow, do we do that? And that's something for everyone to just sit and contemplate, at your own time, of what it means to outsource your power and to disempower yourself. I realized that I had a negative view of what power is and was. And although I was standing on stages at Girl Up and traveling all around the world, telling people, to find their voice and use their power, every opportunity I got, I was saying how sorry I was. Every opportunity I got, I was apologizing for existing and being small and, I don't really know anything. No, stop that. Stand in your power, even when you don't know. Say, listen, I don't know, but I'm trying. I don't know, but I'm doing the best I can. To me, this movement of empowerment, it is one that is personal, but it's also one that, as Marianne Williams says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our dark that most frightens us. And that, I believe, is our truth. That as women, so many of us have been, I know I was told that girls are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I see that mirrored all around the world. But there's this light that comes on when you recognize that, wow, even if I'm not allowed to be heard in this moment, I can always be heard in here, and I can always be heard in here. And these are things that can never be taken away from me. So I've been to countries where the rules were different, and I wasn't able to necessarily get to the finish line in terms of having that level of understanding of how important it is for girls to be empowered. But I can tell you this, I saw it in their eyes. I saw it in their eyes, that moment where they recognized it. And that's where it begins. It begins when we look at ourselves in the mirror and know inherently that we have value and that we have worthiness. And before we can really advocate or empower or inspire anyone else, we should start becoming inspirations to ourselves. Be big, brave. Be big brave at home. Be big brave in your private conversations. Reach out to someone that scares you. Start being big brave, and you will start to recognize the power that you can help unlock in another woman simply by walking in your truth and being who you were made to be.
That's absolutely beautiful. And, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things, as I've been doing this work as both U.S. Youth Observer, when I had many women and girls come up to me after whatever event, or girls that I would bump into, whether it's at the UN or as I'm doing my travels, is seeing the moment where they realize just how, it's like a small unlocking, and they realize like, oh, like I can do that. Oh, I can ask that question. Oh, I'm really glad I came up to you, or I'm really glad I sent that email. It's like small unlocking. And one of the things that really resonated with me, as you said, the first thing that came to your mind when you heard that question was disempowerment, because that sentiment was also one of the first things that came to my mind as I was thinking about just how much we truly have no idea of the potential of all of the strength and potential that women and girls have, because we have so much conditioning. I don't even know what my own potential is just yet. And that is wild. And imagine what the world would look like if we knew. Imagine what the world would look like if we stripped away every single layer that's put on us the minute we're born.
Yes.
It baffles me. It literally gives me chills to think about what the world might look like if we all just had more of these unlockings, to be like, oh my gosh, I'm powerful enough to do that. I have the strength to do that. I don't need this layer. I don't need this conditioning.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's what the pandemic, as someone in the entertainment industry, that was one of the biggest things that the pandemic really showed me was, I don't need these lights. I don't need this set. I don't need these costumes. I need this heart. I need this voice, and I need this mind. And all of these other things are meant to amplify those things. But if that is not pure and true, then none of this actually matters. And the other thing that I will say is that power is not always big and strong. Sometimes power is vulnerability. Oftentimes power is the ability to have compassion in situations that seems like it can't even possibly exist. That vulnerability and compassion and the willingness to sit and be still and not know, there's power in that as well. There's as much power in not using your voice as there is in actually speaking up. It can be in any way, and only you know what that is. Only you know when you are stepping up and you are embodying that. And it is, I think that the place that feels fearful is also sometimes it feels the same way. That scary feeling is sometimes that breakthrough moment that you're needed. And when you get to that moment where everything feels like so different, that is where you should feel awesome, because you finally are in some place you've never been. And that is where the magic of possibility and change actually happens. When you go places you've never been, and when you step outside of your comfort zone, whatever that is, if you're the one who always talks, if you don't speak, if you're the one who never speaks and you speak up, whatever that is, knowing that inside yourself, it may not always feel good, but it's necessary for you, for all of us, for each of us to turn that light on inside of ourselves.
Beautiful. My heart, my mind feels like it's expanding as I am talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you guys for being here, for showing up, for being present, even in this virtual world. I know we all have Zoom fatigue. We're all tired of looking at screens, but somehow I feel deeply connected, both to you, Monique, and to everybody that's out here watching. So thank you all so much for being here. I will turn it over now to Paula to close us off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole and Monique, for such an incredible conversation about using a platform for passion, especially as it reflects to human rights. And thank you both, not only for what you believe in, but also what you're doing to support those beliefs, issues, and causes. As the UNA USA National Council Chair, I'm proud that every day we work to empower changemakers like Nicole and Monique, who are using their various platforms to speak up for the issues most important to them. I'm hopeful that over the course of the 2021 Global Engagement Summit, you have found meaning, tactics, and awareness about how to use your platform, whatever it might be, to promote what you are passionate about. For this, I want to extend my sincere thanks to UNA USA National Council members on the Global Engagement Summit Planning Committee for spearheading this incredible virtual summit. And in particular, I'd like to recognize Akash Patel and Bettina Hausman, the Planning Committee's chair and vice chair, for their hard work over several months, along with Farah Ek, UNA USA Senior Director, for her leadership in bringing this one-of-a-kind event to fruition. This summit takes place at a pivotal moment in our country. Over the last several years, America's role on the world stage has been tested as we face mounting global challenges, from the climate emergency and a global health crisis to democratic unrest and racial inequality. But before us is the opportunity to redeem our voice as a leader on the world stage. While we have taken important steps to re-engage with the UN, there's much work to be done. Now, more than ever, it's critical that we not lose momentum in our efforts to promote and protect the vital work of the UN and its agencies, globally and locally. And as we do this, we work together. UNA USA National Council plays an essential role in providing support and guidance to members to ensure our collective voice remains strong. Our 34 National Council members serve as elected representatives to each of our 11 regions, working closely with more than 200 campus and community chapters across the US. So whether you've been a UNA USA member for several decades, several years, or just now learning about our movement, National Council members are here to support you and to help you become an even more effective advocate for the life-saving work of the United Nations. As our 2021 Global Engagement Summit comes to an end, we hope to have accomplished 3 primary goals which mirror the 3 tracks of educate, inspire, and mobilize. First, we hope you have learned even more about how the UN and its agencies are addressing and responding to some of the most complex challenges around the world. Second, we hope you are inspired to do even more to advance progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in your communities. And lastly, we hope your participation in this program has mobilized you and your fellow UN advocates to take action, connect with your elected officials to ask for their support for full funding to the UN, and to ensure we're on a path toward a better world that works for everyone, everywhere. Your voice matters. Your actions matter. All of us at UNA USA, we are a team, and we'd love for you to join us. Our movement is made up of more than 20,000 Americans who support global engagement and a strong US-UN partnership. UNA USA members are driven by their motivation to make a difference in both their communities and around the world. When you give us a megaphone, you best believe we'll use it to speak up for the issues that matter. Together, we will continue to send a powerful message. Americans overwhelmingly support the United Nations. But while there are so many thousands of us in this movement, let me address you directly. Never underestimate your ability to be an agent for change. Remember, this is your moment to take action, to speak up, to be that agent for change. A brighter future is possible. Our movement can make it a reality. You can make it a reality. Thank you so much once again for taking the time to join our 2021 Global Engagement Summit, which we hope has brought you from one moment in time to a movement.